In this brief video, I'm going to show you how to use this template that I've created in Canvanizer to help you create a specific business model for your urban entrepreneur partner business. So you can see all of the business model canvas elements here. I'm going to expand this out so you can see some of the detail that's associated with each of the business model canvas items. So under value propositions, that's the first element. We have always a few different value propositions, one or more value propositions. So I just show here value proposition 1 description, value proposition 2 description, etc. Okay, and under customer segments, similarly, we have customer segment 1 description, customer segment 2 description, etc. Well, you know, it's one thing to indicate what a value proposition is, but it's also useful to have some detail under that. So for each value proposition, I suggest that we include, first of all, a brief product description. This is the product that the customer in that associated customer segment sees. So for example, if the business is something like Uber, then the product description would be something like ride-sharing service, because that's what it is. And then you have gains created or pains reduced. We would just list those briefly. And then the key product features. So that's the kind of detail we would have under a value proposition. So for each value proposition, we would have a brief description, a brief product description, and then gains created, pains reduced, key product features. Going over to the associated customer segments, and you notice that I color coded these so that the value proposition corresponds to the customer segment. So we would have a brief description of the customer segment, the jobs, which is what is the customer trying to do, what do they want to do, the pains felt or the gains desired, and the characteristics of that particular customer. So for each customer segment, that's the information that we would show. So we're not just saying what the customer segment is, we're giving some information, some more information about that customer segment. Under customer relationships, we would describe the customer relationship. So a customer relationship might be, say, customer loyalty program or customer service department. So we would say, what's the purpose of this customer relationship? Is it to get new customers? Is it to keep customers? Is it to grow the customer base? So for each customer relationship, I'm suggesting that in detail we put the purpose of that customer service, that customer relationship, the purpose of that customer relationship. And we could color code these again if we wanted, if they're customer relationships items that correspond to one value proposition or another, we could color code them, or we could just color them some neutral color if they apply to, say, all of the customer segments. Coming down here to channels. Again, you're typically going to have one or more channels. This is how the customer gets the product, how they buy the product, how they get it. So we would have a description of that channel. So for example, it might be brick and mortar store. What is the use of that channel? Is it for purchase or delivery or both? The details, such as how efficient is this channel, the cost, the time, the customer preference. Does the customer prefer this channel? So that's the kind of detail information that we would have under each channel description. So this might be brick and mortar store, this might be website, but in each case you would have detail further describing that channel. Under revenue streams, these are the ways that the company makes money, of course. So you're going to have one or more revenue streams. The kind of detail we might want to have here is What percentage of the total revenue is represented by this particular stream? What is the revenue type? Is it a purchase? Is it a license? Is it a royalty? What's the profit margin on this sales in this revenue stream? Again, these can be estimates and these can be rough indications. What you're trying to do is to get a sense of how important each of these revenue streams are and what types of revenue streams they are. So that's what we would have there. Now let's go up to key activities. So again, we would describe each key activity. But in the detail, we would have what proportion of the overall activity of this. Again, we're trying to get a sense of what does the company spend most of its time and resources on. So what's the proportion of the overall activity? What value propositions does this activity support? And why is this a key activity? So for each key activity, those are the kinds of detail items we would include. Similarly, under key partners, we would simply describe the key partner or who the key partner is. And then under that, we would indicate what product, service, or resources that key partner provides to the company. What's the type of partnership? Is it strategic or is it joint venture? Is it a supplier? What value propositions does this key partner support? Again, in a lot of cases, they support all of the value propositions, but it would be helpful to know if this key partner enables you to provide a specific value proposition. And then what are the unique capabilities of this key partner? In other words, why are you using that particular key partner? So that's some of the detail information. You're not always going to have this information, but this is just a checklist of things that you can look at. You certainly got to have the description of the partner and indicate what product or service or resources they provide. This other stuff, the type of partnership also you can usually always provide, but some of the other items here you may or may not have. So you would provide this kind of information for each of the key partners. Under key resources, again, you would describe each key resource briefly. And then for detail, what's the type of resource? Is it buildings, machines, software, etc.? What's the estimated value of that resource, if you know it? Why is this a key resource? Okay, and then similarly, you would do the same thing for each key resource. You would have a description of the key resource, and then this kind of detail information. And finally, under cost structure, you would have a brief description for each item in the cost structure, and then some detail below. What percentage of the total is this particular cost item? Is it an in-house expense? Is it outsourced? So that kind of detail you might want to provide under cost structure. So what we're trying to do here is to get a sense again of what are the main costs and prioritizing them. Are we spending most of our money on manufacturing? Are we spending on marketing? Are we spending on R&D? So to give this kind of detail, it helps the reader of this business model canvas or the observer to understand more about it. And again, we can always come over here and in Canvanizer and eliminate all the details so we can just see at a glance what this entire business model looks like. And that can be a very useful thing, and then we can expand it out to see the detail. But your descriptions of each business model element should be concise but accurate and descriptive enough so that you can just look at the headings and get a general sense of how this business works. So that's the template for implementing the business model canvas that I hope you will apply to your own urban entrepreneur partner businesses. I hope that helps. Take care.